Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading down to the SEC as the Tennessee Volunteers head on the road and play the Missouri Tigers. And I'll start with this. This Tennessee Vols team, I think, is really playing their best college football we've seen all year. I think Joe Milton, the most comfortable he has looked. And then you go look at Missouri. Like, a lot of people expected Missouri to go on the road to Athens and just look like a team that's not a top SEC team. That is not what the people got. Like, this is a legitimate, very good SEC team in the Missouri Tigers. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support you guys have shown the boys for all of these game breakdowns truly does mean a lot. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and more importantly, would love to hear from you guys. Picks, predictions, keys to the game, throw them in the comment section. Dill, going to give you the T-box here. Your Tennessee Vols heading on the road to play the Missouri Tigers. How we feeling?
This is just one of those really, really fun college football games. And I get at this point, it doesn't have those national title implications, obviously, or even really the SEC East, although it might, obviously, if Tennessee plays Georgia tough. But just a really, really fun football game. I like two really good teams right on the cusp of being really great and excited.
I think the most exciting part about this is these are both two programs that are just, if you talked about a trajectory for SEC teams, Tennessee and Missouri are those two teams you're looking at, like they're really going after kind of getting to that upper echelon in the SEC conference. Dill, let's start with this Vols offense going up against the Missouri defense that has been really solid. And I've said it multiple times. There are a lot of NFL dudes sprinkled in to that Missouri Tigers defense. But what I want to get started with is this Tennessee offense has been playing a lot better. And I think Joe Milton, you're starting to see, and I get it was UConn, and Kentucky's a solid defense, though. But what was our biggest knock on this Tennessee offense was they can run the ball better than just about anyone in the country. They're not hitting the explosive plays. Like, this passing game was not as dynamic as it was with Hendon Hooker. The last 2 weeks, Joe Milton's averaging 15 yards a completion almost. You're seeing that explosive passing game come to life. And if you can marry that explosive passing game with how good this Tennessee run game has been, that is how you have an elite Tennessee Volunteers offense to kind of close out this regular season.
And honestly, Joe Milton, his game's picked way up, but I honestly think the wide receivers' games have picked way up. You look at how much better Squirrel White's playing than he played earlier in the season. Dante Thornton kind of getting into the mix against Kentucky and having a really good game. And I think that's been a big help. And again, Joe Milton's game is picking up too. He looks a lot more comfortable. He's moving around a lot more. It felt like earlier in the year, he's standing there like a statue and just waiting to get sacked or missing balls high. He's using his legs a little better, buying some time, making the throws he needs to make. But these wide receivers, you got to give them credit. I do think their game's picked way up. Ramel Keaton, shout out. He's really starting to play some good.
And yeah, he was one that we kind of mentioned not playing his best ball earlier in the year. We kind of said that, like, this Tennessee team, yes, maybe a downgrade with the quarterback position from Hendon Hooker to Joe Milton, but you also lost Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, two of the best receivers in the country last year. It does seem like this offense is really trying to hit its stride towards the end of the season here, going up against the Missouri defense that, what I'm most interested in is this Tennessee offense. Can they run the football on the Missouri Tigers? And this is a Missouri team that's middle in the pack, 4 yards per carry given up. As much as we just jabbered around Joe Milton, Squirrel Wright, Dante Thornton, this rushing attack, Jalen Wright averaging 7.5 yards per carry. That's how Tennessee gets it done. Can they run the football against the Missouri Tigers? It's probably one of the biggest questions of this match.
Watching them play Kentucky, just so impressed. I thought John Campbell, that's as good in the run game as I think I've ever seen an offensive lineman play. Running guys off the ball, not even with double teams, just straight up base man-on-man blocking. Obviously, I think the guards and center combo have just been nails. And another thing to add in, Joe Milton getting involved. I love when they use a little bit of read option. I think it slows teams down because you see how patient these running backs are, and they like to be able to bounce the outside. And if you can't have backside guys crashing down on them, I think it does add a little bit of a wrinkle, a little bit of a weapon to what they do. And frankly, Joe Milton's a good runner, so I love the fact that they've started to use him a little more in that area.
Joe Milton using his legs has meant worlds to this Tennessee offense. Now, flipping the sides, you look at this Missouri offense. What I was most surprised going back, and you kind of saw it during the broadcast, but when you watch it back, the Missouri Tigers, the stretch zone runs. Like, I haven't seen a team kind of just base run and kind of take it to Georgia in a little bit. Cody Schrader was absolutely awesome. If you're a Missouri fan and you're looking at where this program is going, and you saw the ability to match up and just kind of run the football on the back-to-back national champs, one of the best defenses that we've seen in the country. I mean, if you're a Missouri fan, I get not the result you wanted on Saturday, a lot of good that you can take, especially from that offensive side of the ball.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like that offensive line, I don't think they played incredible in the pass pro, frankly. I thought they did give up too much quick pressure. But yeah, in the run game, very good. I mean, we're handling their blocks. And Cody Schrader had the game, best game by far I've seen him play all year. And a lot of that was him being able to break tackles and run behind his pads and get yards after contact. But that offensive line is still very good because at the end of the day, you need, as good as he played, you obviously, when you play a team like Georgia, you need to be able to take care of business because that's a team that when they get going up front, they can suffocate you. And that's really not how it looked to me.
That's what I was most impressed with. Is just like that Missouri team. I think in years past, like wouldn't. I mean, they took Georgia down to the wire last year too. But what I was like most impressed with is that Missouri looked like they belonged out there. They showed that last year was
but
not.
Georgia didn't play like bad. Like last year, Georgia didn't play a great game against Missouri, and that's why I think it went there. And obviously, by the end of the game, they got it going and really took control, but they came back.
No, that's a good point. 100%. Like Georgia played some of their better ball, and like Missouri just hung in there. Like that is a legitimate Missouri team. Dill, one of the stories about this Tennessee team, though, it has to be on the defensive side of the ball. Like when you think Tennessee football, like you're gonna think air raid, throw the football around. Like this team is physical along both lines of scrimmages, and you look at this Tennessee team against the run. I mean, 2.9 yards per carry given up to opposing running backs. That's number 8th in the country. This Tennessee Vols front seven is as good as we've seen it under Josh Heupel.
Yeah, and not just stopping the run, but being able to rush the passer. I thought against Kentucky, what really impressed me is that interior I thought really got going in the pass rush. And we've been talking about guys on the edge who've played really good, obviously. Tyler Barron, Pierce. Like these guys have been dominant all year. But seeing guys like Norman Lott and Amari Thomas like really start to dominate games, I thought Bryson Easton played exceptional. The way they were able to rush the passer from the inside and complement what they've been doing all year on the outside, I thought that was what it kind of made me take notice. Like, man, they're playing really, really, really well up front. Obviously, against Kentucky, they had some issues in the back end though. That was very
good. I mean, but like that when I went back and watched that game against Kentucky. Like that was by far Devin Leary's best game. Like that they just made some really good throws. And I look at the secondary, they're really good against the run. And kind of what stood out is a 65% completion percentage given up for the Tennessee Vols secondary. Not great. That's 110th in the country. But they're only allowing 6.7 yards per pass attempt. That's 30th in the country. So what it's telling me is, yeah, we're going to let you complete some passes, but we're going to come up, tackle, not give you guys the explosive play. And you talk about keys to the defense, like being able to stop the run, not give up the explosive plays in the pass game, have an elite pass rush with guys like Tyler Barron and James Pierce, like that. They're kind of checking the boxes there. I guess the big question mark is, can you limit the explosive plays against the Missouri Tigers team that 9.3 yards per pass, that's 11th in the country. They're trying to get it to guys like Theo Weiss and Luther Burden. It's probably the biggest story of this game here.
Yeah, and that's the only thing like taken away from like looking at what they did against Kentucky and maybe at times against Alabama. Like this will probably be the best passing attack they'll see, I think. I mean, Brady Cook is playing out of his mind, I think. Obviously, Luther Burden, he's right up there with anyone in the country as a wide receiver. So that will be the test. Again, I thought against a Kentucky passing attack that hasn't wowed all year. And granted, you're right. Devin Leary played well, so it's not to say like they were playing horrible, but that'll be the key to this game is to be more solid in your zone coverage and not giving up as much space. And even because, again, at some point, like you can't give up a ton of completions, even if they're not huge. Against a quarterback who's really, really good, they're still going to move the ball. So there is probably some element of you got to squeeze the windows down. The zones need to be a little tighter. And if they can do that, like you look at this defense, they have a chance not to just be good, which they're good right now, but be one of the tough ones in the country.
That's what I'm most saying. I think this defense in a couple of years, like Josh Heupel is getting the pieces. Like a couple of years ago, they just didn't have the talent to have an elite defense. They're getting that talent in there, and that's what's most exciting. They'll get into the pick here. 1.5 point favorites to the Tennessee Vols on the road. How are we feeling?
I think I'm leaning Missouri. I love what Missouri is doing. I think Brady Cook is so good, so underrated. Georgia, the issue is they didn't feel like they got anything easy against Georgia. And you see what his numbers were. He obviously was less than 50% complete pass, I think 14 to 30. But I was a little surprised they just couldn't get anything easy over the middle or use Theo Weiss or Mookie Cooper, who have been very good in the slot. Even Luther Burden can drop down in the slot and make some noise. It felt like everything was going to the outside. I don't expect to see that again.
That was weird. Like just a lot of like back shoulders, working the boundaries. That offense, not saying
they were low percentage, really difficult throws, and against good cornerbacks that Georgia has, it was tough. But to me, that's not like something you've seen all year, and I expect them to tighten it up, play a really good game, and I think again, if Brady Cook can play an excellent game, that'll be as good of a quarterback as this Tennessee team's seen.
I'm going to go Tennessee. I went back, watched the Kentucky game, and I just think this defense is so good. And I think when Devin Lear was able to get them, it just was like really good football by Devin Lear and that Kentucky team. And I tell you what, like this Tennessee offense, I think slowly getting some confidence. I think Joe Milton, you're seeing the most confident Joe Milton that we've seen. They obviously can run the football. I'm going to take Tennessee to head on the road, pick up this win. This is going to be a really good one, though. Like two of the best teams in the SEC doing battle. Really excited for it again. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.